The salesman didn't even look up. One glance was enough to decide. No credit check. No test drive. We don't waste time here. The man nodded quietly and walked away. They had no idea. They had just refused a millionaire who came to test them. Luxury car dealerships are designed to intimidate. Glass walls, polished floors, cars that cost more than most houses. Every detail whispers the same message. If you belong here, you'll know. And if you don't, they'll remind you. The man who walked in that morning didn't look like he belonged. No suit, no watch that caught the light, no assistant trailing behind him. He wore faded jeans, a plain jacket, shoes worn by use, not neglect. He paused at the entrance, taking in the room. Not impressed, not overwhelmed, observing. Salespeople noticed immediately. Not because he stood out, but because he didn't fit. One salesman glanced at him, then back to his phone. Another adjusted his tie and walked past him without a word. The man walked slowly toward a midnight black sedan near the center of the showroom. He studied it carefully. Not the paint, not the badge, the craftsmanship, the stitching, the panel alignment, the engineering choices only someone experienced would notice. Still, no one approached him. Finally, a young salesman sighed and walked over, already annoyed. "Can I help you?" he asked, not hiding the tone. "Yes," the man replied calmly. "I'd like to know more about this model." The salesman glanced at his shoes, then his jacket, then his empty hands. "This isn't really an entry-level vehicle," he said. "Prices start very high." The man nodded. "I am aware." The salesman raised an eyebrow. "Do you have an appointment?" "No." "Financing arranged?" "No." The salesman exhaled sharply. "We don't usually do walk-ins for this section." The man smiled faintly. "That's interesting." The salesman crossed his arms. "Look, if you're just browsing, there are brochures by the door." The man looked around. "I don't browse," he said. "I evaluate." That answer irritated him. The millionaire hadn't come to buy a car. Not yet. He had come to test something else. For years, he had built businesses quietly, sold companies without headlines, invested without noise. And now, after deciding to buy a new vehicle, he had made a rule for himself: never reward disrespect. So instead of sending assistants, instead of walking unannounced, he came alone to see how people behaved when they thought nothing was at stake. The salesman laughed lightly. "Sir, this car costs more than most people make in a year." The man met his eyes. "Then it must be built very well." The salesman shook his head. "Look, I don't want to waste your time or mine." "That makes two of us," the man replied calmly. The salesman gestured toward the door. "Come back when you're ready." "Ready for what?" the man asked. "To actually buy." The man nodded slowly. "Understood." He stepped away from the car. No argument, no raised voice, just information collected. As he walked out, he noticed something important. Another customer had just arrived. Designer suit, flashy watch, loud confidence. 3 salesmen rushed toward him immediately. The millionaire smiled to himself. Test confirmed. Some people think wealth is about money. It's not. It's about leverage. And leverage reveals character. The man remembered when he had been ignored before, years ago, when he actually couldn't afford what he wanted. Back then, rejection hurt. Now it educated. He didn't want a dealership that sold cars. He wanted one that understood people. Because when you're wealthy enough, you don't buy products. You buy relationships. He stepped in his car, an old, reliable one, and drove away. But he wasn't done. Not even close. 3 days later, he returned. Same clothes. Same calm. Different time. A different salesman noticed him this time. Older. More polished. He approached with a neutral smile. "Good afternoon." "Good afternoon," the man replied. "I noticed you looking at the black sedan earlier this week." The man nodded. "Yes. Are you considering purchasing?" "Possibly." The salesman hesitated. "Do you have a budget in mind?" "Yes." "And that would be?" The man named a number. The salesman froze for half a second, then laughed. "That vehicle starts above that." The man nodded again. "I know." The salesman leaned closer. "Sir, I don't want to mislead you. These vehicles are selective." "So are my decisions," the man replied. That caught the salesman off guard. Still, he didn't invite him to sit, didn't offer water, didn't ask his name. Instead, he said, We usually require proof of funds before test drives. The man smiled. Then I suppose this isn't the place for me. The salesman shrugged. Probably not. The man thanked him politely and walked out again. That evening, the dealership manager received an email. Short, professional, unassuming. Subject line: inquiry regarding customer experience. It asked 3 questions. How does your dealership train staff to assess customers? Are purchasing decisions influenced by appearance? Would you treat a buyer differently if you didn't know their net worth? The email was signed with a name the manager didn't recognize. He ignored it. 2 days later, another email arrived. Same questions, different signature. This time, the name triggered something. The manager searched it. His face went pale. The man wasn't just a millionaire. He was a majority shareholder in the parent investment group that financed multiple dealerships, including theirs. The manager called immediately. Apologetic, panicked, formal. We would love to invite you back personally, he said. The man listened quietly. I already visited, he replied. Yes, we understand there may have been a misunderstanding. No, the man said. There was an understanding. Silence. I wanted to see how your team treated people they believed had no value. The manager swallowed. And now you know, he added. Yes, the man said calmly. Ido. The next morning, the man arrived again. This time, everything changed. Doors opened instantly. Staff stood straighter. Water was offered. Chairs pulled out. The same salesman who dismissed him stood frozen. Recognition hit like a wave. The man walked straight past him. He met the manager. I won't be buying a car today, the man said. The manager nodded nervously. Of course. But I will be making a decision, the man continued. The staff watched. This dealership will receive new training protocols, he said, or it will receive new management. No anger, no shouting, just consequence. People don't reveal who they are. When money is visible, they reveal it. When they think it isn't. Respect given only to wealth is not respect. It's calculation. The millionaire didn't test the dealership to feel powerful. He tested it to see who deserved power. Never underestimate the quiet man. Never confuse appearance with value. Because sometimes the person you refuse to serve is the one deciding whether you stay open tomorrow.